Welcome back to BAS 120. We're on, you can follow along in the Excel spreadsheets that we have. We're doing example 4.5, computer repair times. Now, remember what this chapter is all about. This chapter is all about how we describe data. And right now we're talking about central location, the location of the data. So we're using mean, median, mode, frequency distributions so that we know where the data is located. Is it centrally located, etc., where it is. So what they gave us is a whole bunch of samples, I think 250 of them, whole bunch of samples, and a typical repair time. Okay? So the first thing I went ahead and did is I said, well, before I do my frequency distribution, it'd be nice to know what the maximum value, the longest repair time is, so I know how long to make my chart. So all I did here is I simply went into my data and I said max, and I gave it my range, and then I froze that range so I could copy it if I needed to, and it returned an answer of 40. So let me show you how easy it is. You go up to function, you say find me the max function. You say max, and then it'll ask you the range, and you'll say, oh, I want this range right here. So what you're asking Excel to do is find you the maximum through all theirs, and there you get 40. And of course, remember, you can add decimal places or subtract decimal places with these keys right here. Now, the reason I froze these or made them absolute cells with you can do that by just remember, you highlight right there, and you hit your F4 key, which is very handy, and hit check because I like it. Now I've locked those. So now what I can do very easily is, since my range is locked, I can just fill that down, and very quickly, because I also want to know the mean or the average is the function, I can do the average, hit check. I can do the median. Remember, median is your middle point, middle number, and mode is my most frequent. So I've got all those statistics now. So I know the average repair time's around 14 or 15, and I think we're dealing with days. Yes, we are. So about 14.9 days. And I also know that my median and my most are very close to that average too. So I've probably got something that looks a little bit like a bell-shaped curve, because all my data seems to be centrally located, i.e. my mean, my median, and my mode are relatively the same number. And so if I want to do a histogram, I just added days, right? And I knew I had to go up to 40 days because I knew that was the maximum. Then I just here, notice I said, count if this range, B4 to B253, and against I locked it, and the criteria is D4. So count if it's 0 days. Well, and then I just copied this down. Count if it's 1 day. Count if it's 2 days. Count if it's 3 days, etc., all the way down to what I knew the maximum was of 40. So this is count if it's 40 days. Okay, so that's my frequency. Now, I then went ahead and summed this up to make sure there were 250, and I've got all 250. Then I can say my relative frequency is this divided by the total. And again, I locked in my 250, so I could then just copy it down. My cumulative frequency is going to be whatever, to start off, it's my frequency of the first period. Then the next one is this cumulative frequency plus the frequency that I had there. And again, I filled this down. Cumulative percentage is just going to be my cumulative frequency divided by my total, which is 250. I locked that so I could copy it all down. And notice we get to 100%. Now, to graph these, if I want a frequency graph or a histogram, all I had to do is say, here's my frequencies, insert a column chart, and there we go. And then you can dress it up, of course, with some chart titles, labeling the axis, changing the location of the label, putting data labels in. You could do some quick designs here if you wanted to change it. So you've got lots of options. If I'd like it to be red or green, lots of options for you. So that's example 4.5 of different repair times. So we now know, looking at this graph, like we said, the average is around 14 to 15 days. Most people are within 10 to 21. In the next video, we'll show you how to calculate all of that, right? In fact, we could do it right now by saying, tell me what quartile it is. Let's say I want to know the different quartiles. Remember, I can go up here and say quartile. Quartile, remember now, the array will simply be these frequencies, right? And let's say I want to know the first quartile. First quartile is 0, not surprisingly. Now let's lock this in. Now we can find the second quartile, the third quartile, the fourth quartile, and there we have different quartiles. We know where they fall in. We could compute the mid-range by taking our max and our min. We know our max is 40. We know our min is 0. So our mid-range is equal to our max, which is 40, minus our min. And our min is 0. And we're going to divide that by 2. So our mid-range is 20. Hope that helps.